All right, so here's the current layout and look of our kitchen. Got the dining room over here, coffee bar on this wall. This big hutch here, which is full of appliances and stuff. We're gonna have cabinets replacing this hutch, going top and bottom cabinets. Matching the countertops in this area. These are gonna get replaced. These top cabinets are gonna replace. The cooktop is gonna be moved from the island to this wall. We're going with that new Z-Line 36-inch. Be nice. New stove to come in. That should be the last of our appliances that need to be upgraded. We just did the microwave. We had a white microwave before, so that's out of here. So all of the countertops will be a light whitish color. So that's it. We got the cabinets. We'll be building them ourselves, mounting them ourselves, and then contracting out the countertop work, plumbing work, and electrical work. All of our outlets, we're gonna bring the countertops up to the backsplash as well, so it'll be seamless. And in that process, we're deleting all the outlets that are on this wall, and then they're gonna be powered from the bottom side of the top side cabinets. White sink will be going in as well, which we already have. And then once we're done over here, we will be matching these cabinets, refacing them, matching these cabinets to match the new cabinets that are going in, because our new cabinets all have a full overlay, and these obviously have a much larger, or I should say smaller, overlay over the face frames. It's been like a week and a half, and we got all three of those lowers built. That's set but not finished. Those two top hung, those two top hung. Those are in place, they just need to be shimmed. It's been a lot of work every day, but man, it's coming along. It's coming along. All right, so I just finished up bead framing the interiors of all of these squares, rectangles, whatever you can call them. And here's the trick. Make yourself this little jig. Well, it helped me because figuring out the angles, I kept getting confused. You'll see when you're done, I mean, and you get your measurements right, you learn that saw. This jig just helped me from making mistakes. So I kept this by the saw. And it just kept reminding me, am I on the bottom bead left bead, right bead, and I kept getting confused. I would cut them wrong over and over again, then I'd go put them up, and like I'd have the cut right, but I'd have the profile facing the wrong direction, and I literally installed them like that like 4 times because I just, you know, it's easy to do. So anyhow, once you understand, am I working on the bottom bead, the left, the right, just, you know, before you make your cuts and everything, the top, the left, the bottom. So all you have to do, I started off thinking I needed to cut the saw by changing the 45s this way, 45 this way, 45 this way with the saw at 0. But I ended up realizing like that's not the right way to cut these. These, you want to tilt your saw 45 this way and 45 this way. So for instance, you want to make that cut. There's your 45 there. And then on this DeWalt, I'll bring it over so you can see the shadow. The shadow, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. That shadow is kind of your indicator of where you're going to cut, but you need to cut long or you'll put your shadow long of your mark and then just walk it back. Because I mean, with the one I'm using, it's just a little PVC bead. They didn't even have a wood option for this profile, but it's real easy to trim it up. So if you do go just a hair too long and you can't squeeze it in, you can just come over here and just trim it up. It doesn't chip out or nothing like that. Everything's fine. Here's the brad nailer I'm using. I had this thing for a long time. The shortest brad nails I can get for this brad nailer are 3/4 inch, which they kind of blow through the side if you go directly into the straight into the side panel. The rear panel's not really a problem because it's thicker, but the side panels are pretty thin. So I was just coming at it at like a 45-degree through the thick meat of the profile. I had a couple blowouts of some trim when I put the nail, when I drove the nail too close to the edge, like right about there in the middle of the profile is perfect. If you run that any closer to the edge, this will blow out a little bit. I just want to point out how we lined up our cabinets and lined up all of our studs. So we found the stud on that back wall and then shot the laser to the center of it. And that's how we found that. So when we mounted the top ones, we just ran a ledger board across the bottom where we wanted our tops to sit. And my wife kind of held it up and then I zipped that one in. But if you look down, that's where the screws are for, the studs also are for the lowers. You got that one and then that one there. And then obviously we just did the same thing with all the other ones, but that right there is, we made it real handy. Took away a lot of guesswork.
You want me to push it? Can I push it?
Yeah, go ahead. not sanded yet. There's a little sneak peek of the new countertops. We don't have the backsplash in yet. This should be coming hopefully this week.
My hand. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh! His hands off free.
Yeah, watch. You're gonna have to just watch that. You're gonna have to come out. We are not gonna make that. We're not gonna make that. We're gonna have to come all the way out past that.
So I gotta get out of side.
Come on, man, back in. Okay, keep coming. Keep coming. Watch the lights.
What's the?
Keep coming. We're good. We're good. Come on, stop.
That's all
You
we
should be able
got.
to go back.
Yeah.
You're good.
I'm
That's it.
literally riding the
Okay,
line.
that's it.
update of where we are. Almost everything's done. Little things left, except for that one big one. So we got to do the crown up here, build the hood, cover that up. I'll show about that. We got to finish the crown up here to match. But it's coming together. It looks great, man. Every time I'm in here, I'm like, I'm loving it. That's probably one of my favorite two cabinets that I made because it covered up. That was an opening for the microwave. But I mean, if you look at these, which were RTA cabinets, and you look at those, which are the ones I built on the router, in my humble opinion, I think actually mine came out a little better, mainly because there's no gap between the center panel and the trim. When you look at these, they left, they use those little space ball things where it's more of a floating panel. This we turned into a trash can. My wife picked out this cool little latch. It's coming together, coming together. All right, so we're making a hood for this. This is all mounted in the studs. It's 20 inches to that tip there. And it's 38 inches from cabinet to cabinet, from here to here. And then this gap, we want to fill it all the way because we want it to go flush with this cabinet. So that gap was, what was it? 1 7/16. And on the right side, it was 1.5. So let me show you what we got. So I got 2 pieces of 3/4 inch ply, which is not 3/4 of an inch, obviously, and then I just ran a bar here. We're gonna do 1/4 inch MDF on the outside because I need a paintable surface. So we're gonna glue MDF to the outside of this so it can be a paintable surface. I'm gonna stick this out 1/4 of an inch because this is the front. And then I'm gonna trim it up here. I still need to add a mounting bracket. I'm sorry, a mounting board to go across here. And then that will go into the studs. But then I can frame up the front and start making it look pretty. So the 3/4 inch ply will rest on that ledger on each side of that stone, so it'll be supported there. So to get the perfect placement of where that 2x4 went, I just took the sheet of plywood, laid it up there, traced it out, and then sat the 2x4 on top of it, make sure everything was clear, and then traced it out on the inside. Okay, you can see here, right? I set that down in there and then traced out around the hood. And then I set the 2x4 in there. You can barely see it, but I can see where I traced out around the 2x4. And then ran pilot holes and then countersunk those because this whole sheet is gonna get covered up with a 1/4 inch MDF. All right, so I got all my 2x4s in to support it. That's the back that's gonna rest along the top. This is the front. This is gonna support that front panel that I'm gonna put on. I did have to make a little bit of an adjustment. I had to put the 1/4 inch MDF on each side and then measure from side to side to make sure it was exactly 38 inches so it would fit in its space. So from here on, it'll be exposed. So I'm just going to drive the brad nails from the 12-inch line this way. All right, so here's where we are so far. Got the front almost finished, trimmed up. This will live there to give that next layer, and then I'll have this trim piece, and I'll have this trim piece here. I'm gonna 45 this. I think I'm gonna bring this back. I'm not sure. I can't really build on the side because my cabinet doors in the kitchen open up all the way to here. So I can't put that nice little transition turn, but that's it so far. Here's the inside. I already got the studs marked out. So when I go to hang it, that bottom down there in this corner rests on the backsplash. So this will be like the ledger, so it'll rest right here on the stone, and then I can secure the top side into the studs, and then the hood is right below this guy. It's coming along. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm also going to use this same trim that I did on the trash can door, and then I'll build that around on the corners to give it that detail on the inside. All right, I got all these trim pieces cut. They're just resting here. They're not connected, but once I get them all buttoned up, should look good. I have these cut here, but I'm still taped up, so. All right, that's where we are. Everything's ready for paint. It's gonna look, just got those tacked in with the nail gun. And that's the side. You can't, too much sun out here. But there's the inside. It sits across the back of the hood there. And then those will obviously mount direct into the wall studs. So it's all primed up. Learned a lesson here though. We're trying to save ourselves the trouble of priming with that spray gun, just because I hate running primer through that spray gun because it's oil based and it's a mess and it's hard to clean up afterwards. But hindsight being 2020, I wish I would have just sprayed it with the spray gun, because when you run those brushes and rollers on this, it leaves such orange peel skin to it that you just got to sand a mess out of it, and the sprayer does such a better job of just laying flat. So, but we sanded it enough. I think we're just gonna go straight with paint now that we got it all that orange peel sanded out and nice and flat.
Oh, hold on, baby. Okay, there. That's better.
We got it going together.
I'm trying. All right. Lord Jesus, let it go in good. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Jesus.
I gotta fix the cord.
All right.
You got it?
Yeah. Perfect. All right. And did you move quick?
Let's look at it before I secure it in. Let me hold it for a second.
It looks perfect.
I might be able to shift it a little left, a little right. Watch out for a second.
You want me to open?
Yeah. That's perfect. Just cleared it.
Here, oh, you got that one?
Yeah. That one's more than enough. Maybe I can shift it a little bit to the.
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
Just leave it like that. They both open.
Ready?
Yeah.
Crown is done on that one. I just have to mount it from the bottom. So I'll get it all centered perfectly and then just drill up into my nailer to lock it in place. This is the last piece. And I will officially never do crown molding again. And it wasn't that bad. It's tricky, it's unforgiving, but it's gonna look good when it's done. All right, thanks for watching. I'm gonna close this video out. Just kind of got all the tools that I used laid out so I can just kind of show you some of the things that I got to make this whole kitchen possible. You know, things that helped me out a lot. We'll just start with this. That Craig jig for drilling those holes. That was very handy. I did this twice because I upgraded all my hinges and then I ended up changing out my door. So I am having to use this twice. I went through 20 something doors twice. So 40 something odd doors with the same bit. It never seemed to dull a little bit. Obviously that's to drill those holes and to just do them consistently and keep your depth correct. That was very handy. This was mounting all the pool hardware on the for all of the cabinet doors, the single pools and such. Let me show you. It was for mounting all of these things and just getting the holes consistent all over the place, which it was great for once you dialed it in for these pools here. It was very repeatable, so I could just make all of my drill holes the same. And it was pretty good for these drawer pools that are longer. These shorter ones, I'll just be honest, this jig, because these cope and stick style, this center panel is deeper than obviously the rails and the stiles. The jig was kind of it was handy just to tell me where the screw hole was, so I could make a mark with the drill bit and then get it out of the way, because it was too flimsy at times to use it on the drawer faces. But it came in really handy, and well, I gotta tighten that one. But you can see down, if you shoot a line down those, I mean, it helped me get very uniform on all of these pools to make sure when I drilled them in, they were straight. So this was a good one. This other Craig jig was very helpful for holding the drawer faces in place so I could set the gaps. I'll show you. So these were the RTA cabinets, and I was trying to match all the gaps of these to the new cabinet faces that I built. So I just measured them out. I think they were 1/2 inch between the tops, the top drawers and the bottoms. But that jig really helped me hold this drawer face in place so I could perfectly get this gap of 1/2 inch. And I don't know how else I would have been able to hold those in place and just get it just right before screwing them onto the drawers themselves. So they make a lot of different models, but that one worked for me. This came in very handy, cheap. Got it on Amazon, and it was for setting those gaps. So my 1/2 inch, for instance, I needed to make sure all my gaps were 1/2 inch. I just set this on the top cabinet door and then placed it underneath the drawer face, so I knew I was at 1/2 inch. It also came in very handy later on when I talk about these coping sticks, setting the bits on those drawers. So yeah, and I mean, this will always be handy. I just find myself using it often. If I need any kind of repeatable measurements or distances, I use it regularly. Brad nailer, I've had this thing forever. Decent nailer, nothing bad to say about it. Staple gun I use to assemble the RTA cabinets. That's just what those RTA cabinets called for. It wasn't part of the assembly. So, and I already owned a staple gun from a previous project, so I just had to get the right size staples, because the ones I had were, I think, were too long. I want to talk about this product because we've never used it before, but we had to repaint our cabinet faces on the existing cabinets, the ones that we weren't removing around the sink and the refrigerator and such. And my wife used this to liquid sandpaper. Just look it up. She liked it. It was a good product. We've used it twice now since that initial use. So it's good stuff. Yeah, if you don't have a sanding block, get one. I like that. I will say though, this 3M sanding block, it needs a little, y'all need to do a little bit of work because it just doesn't have the crimping power to hold on to the sandpaper hard enough. I find myself too often with it slipping. And it'll just slip down the side, or it'll completely just disconnect from here. Sometimes you got to double it up just to give it a little bit more tension. But yeah, this needs a little bit more grip to hold the sandpaper in place so I can be a little bit more aggressive with it. That tool right there came in very handy for all my large sheet goods or any kind of long straight cut that I needed. I used it on every single cabinet because I mean, I just needed to make sure I made perfect straight cuts, you know, to make this cabinet go together. But this was a great investment. This Milescraft track saw, it hooked right up to my DeWalt. I think this is an old DeWalt, man. I've had this thing since the early 2000s, and I upgraded it to the lithium batteries for the 20 volt. But this thing came in super handy. Before I start talking about making cope and stick cabinets, we'll save that for last. Let's talk about crown molding. All right, crown molding. I've never done this before, so I had to kind of figure it all out, but this was a piece of the original crown molding I took off the cabinets that I removed. And when I took it off, I realized how they assembled it. So they added this profile here and then attached the crown molding to it. So I had to reproduce this, and I found this crown molding off the shelf at the big box store. I think I found it at both of them, Home Depot and Lowe's, but I couldn't find this. So I realized that they made it. So I did find the same 1x2 boards, just this stuff here. And I used this bit set. Got this at Harbor Freight, and it had a range of bits in it. And the one that I needed was a 1/4 inch roundover. 1/4 inch roundover with a 1/4 inch bearing. I put that in my little jig here for notes because I'll show you in this set here. That bearing is the same size as this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And then you can tell this little one here, that's a 1/4 inch bearing. I don't know what that is, 1/2 inch, 3/8. I don't know what it is, but it's the bigger one. And I had one, so I had to transfer that small 1/4 inch bearing over to the 1/4 inch bit, which is actually still in my router. So there it is, it's still in there because I haven't removed it, but this just went like so. Maybe if I can work with some light here. It went like so. And just trim that off. And just dial in the heights to match, but that's all it was. So I had to take this guy and when I went to go purchase this wood 1x2, that's when I found that they had pre-primed one. So I ended up getting the pre-primed one to make that bottom profile. Now, this board here was the nailer because my new cabinets didn't have the face frame available that my old cabinets had to attach this to the face frame and then my crown on top of it. I just didn't have the space, and it wasn't. If I would have forced it, all my gaps would have been off. So the top of the cabinet gaps would have been different. So I had to create a nailer for those new cabinets. And I'll show you here on this. So that's just a layout of my top cabinets where the cooktop is. So I just took these nailers and then I made this shape, right? And I started off, so I started making this crown molding first because I knew this one was gonna be easier because it's just a U shape. And then I dealt with this one because I knew that one had inside corners, a lot more cuts. It was gonna be more difficult. So I just made that nailer first, and then I went and attached that 1x2 board You can actually see it now that you know it's there. So that's the 1x2 board and then the crown molding attached to it. But making that nailer just gave me somewhere to mount the crown molding to secure it. So, I mean, I can take this whole thing off if I just remove that screw and there's another one on the other side. But that's what sucks it down and holds it to the top of the cabinets. But you can see there the gap that I have. I had to add that in there to keep that gap the same as these are my original cabinets. So I believe it was like 3/4 of an inch from the top of the cabinet, from the top of the door to the crown. I never touched that crown. We just painted over it, and she did that liquid sandpaper stuff and then painted over it. But I still needed to match that top gap on these newer cabinets. And to do that, I needed to make that nailer. So you can see how I have this 1x2 attached to this nailer. On the first set, where it was just a U shape, I didn't do it like this. I made the nailer and then I attached this to the nailer and then I cut the crown to this. So it was like a 3-step process. So I tried on the second set of crown that I did, I went ahead and just took a long piece of this, which was like 6 or 8 feet long. And then this was also 6 or 8 feet long. So I attached the 1x, what do they call this? A 1x4, 1x6 or whatever it is. I attached the 1x4 to the 1x2 in one long strip, and then I just made my 45-degree cuts off of it. It definitely saved a little work, and it made these cuts, obviously from this wood to this wood, perfect because I made one cut at the same time. Then I still had to do the crown after it, and then set my gaps and set my spaces on it. Now, this isn't a how to do crown video, but I do want to talk about this product here. This Crown Pro. It allows me to put the crown molding onto this jig, and now I don't have to cut my crown molding upside down and backwards and all these awkward, weird angles where you have to cut at this degree and you have to cut at a slice. This allows you just to cut at a 45 this way or a 45 this way. But there's something to note here. I think it's Pinker's Brothers did a video on this product, and they said they've smashed it with a hammer and all these kinds of things because of one of the side effects with it. And I want to show you what happens. So the good part about this jig is it tells you where to put your boards, whether you're doing an inside corner or outside corner. Here, I'll show you. It has it written on here. Left inside corner, left outside corner. Tells you to put the jig on the right side of the blade and turn your blade to the left, and so on and so on and so on. Right inside, right outside. So it kind of helps you, not make any major mistakes on as far as like making bad cuts. But the side effect, well, let me talk about one more plus. So this is the bottom of the crown. You cut it with the bottom facing up, which is nice because remember, I was trying to match to this so I could have the inside cut. It was like this, I believe. No, it's like this. So that inside cut, when I would make a mark for my distance, it was here at the bottom of the crown. So when I would mount the bottom of the crown, when you cut it with the bottom facing up, which just helped me line up the blade because my mark was at the bottom, and then I'm cutting from the top of this board, from the bottom. So that was helpful because my mark, just cutting to my mark. But here's the side effect. If you cut with a saw and you have the habit of going all the way down and doing one of these things where you do all this dance, you got to follow through all the way, you're gonna bust up your saw using this tool, because when you cut through this material, let's just say it was about this high, because that's how high it is. When you're cutting small pieces, that little piece right here will fall off. It'll drop and it'll get wedged in between here somewhere, and it'll be loose, and then your blade will catch it, and it's like a bomb's going off, because it'll hit this piece of board, and it did it to me one time, and I realized where I was messing up. And where I was messing up was, you don't, once you cut through your material, stop right there and go back up. Because if you go down, that's how you catch that piece. But if you just go right to your material and come back up, then you have no risk of running into it. It falls down right here, but you don't go any further down. So it's a good tool, just don't go all the way down on your drill. I'm sorry, on the miter saw, because it will. In that video, they were talking about how it destroyed their blade. They had to replace their blade. Yeah, I believe it, because if I did that more than once, I'm sure I would have broke some teeth off of this blade, or I could have bent the blade, or worse off, broke my miter saw, because it was pretty violent when I did it, and that first time, and it crashed and it was pretty violent. It scared me. But yeah, good product. Really helped me with the cuts, and I'm glad I bought it. But yeah, don't follow all the way through, and you'll be good too. Okay, if you're gonna consider making your own cope and stick cabinets, which with these bits, I say, yeah, definitely go for it. These bits made all the difference. Let me see, what brand is this? Let me see if I can get some part numbers for you guys. I think they're Rockwall. Yeah, pretty sure these are Rockwall bits. I'll zoom in and get the photo. Yeah, Rockwall. I'll get a picture for you guys so you can get the part numbers for them, and then I'll zoom in on it. You notice I have them labeled style and cope. Coping bit, style bit. The style is the right side, the up and down of your cabinet, and then the rails are the bottom and the top. You'll watch plenty of videos, don't listen to me on exactly how to do them, but I chose to cut my rails first and then do all my styles. I will tell you, running this long style profile is with the grain, and this thing is like butter. It cuts it. I had very, very little problems cutting this style groove, which obviously cuts the groove for the panel, but also gives me the profile at the same time. The rail or coping cut is this cut on the sides. That's against the grain. This one was a little bit more tricky. I'm sure you'll watch plenty of videos, but they'll tell you to make sure you're cutting with the front side of the board down. So you always got to go here, and then you're cutting across the grain, across this bit, and across this gap here of no man's land. And the problem is, the tricky part is, you don't have any room for error to do this or this. You can't move. This thing has to be steady through this bit, through this entire channel. So you definitely need a backing board. And I was using pressure. I was doing this all by hand. They make jigs, they sell jigs. If buy a jig, because it'll make this process way easier and less mistakes. I didn't make a lot of mistakes, but I made some, because it doesn't take much. Well, as you're passing by this bit, if you just do like that, just a little bit of a hiccup, it shows up on this profile here, which will mess up your whole look between the style and the rail. So this is perfect, right? But imagine if I had a little bit of a hiccup where I just skipped it a little bit, it would have a gouge and it would show right there, and you'd have to do some repairs. So yeah, that's the one thing to know about that, is be very careful while you're cutting across the grain on a thin board like that. It's not very forgiving, but these things made it made the whole process way easier. I would definitely build them again with these bits because they were awesome. Setting the heights was the trickiest part, and getting the repeatability on the heights. I thought these jigs were gonna help me, and they kind of did, but I probably just have to make a whole nother video on you know how to set up the router for these coping styles. But there's plenty of them out there, so go look for cope and stick cabinets, and then they'll show you how to set these up. But I will say that this thing came in handy again because I wanted to have the same reveal each time. What is this? Is this 1/16? Yeah, this is 1/16. So I was able to use this little 1/16 feeler gauge on the bit, you know, while it was in the router, to just make sure that, you know, I was setting them, because that was basically this profile, you know. This is probably not the one that I use 1/16 on, but that's how I got a repeated, you know, lip on this profile right here, is setting the depth on those bits. And I bought that router for this whole job. I should talk about it. It did the job, but I have to say that the fence and the setting of the fence, there's a couple of things I didn't like about it. And one of them was this piece right here, this little plastic piece. It's adjustable where you can slide this piece, this black plastic, you can slide it out. Let's just say you were auging out a lot more material and you wanted to keep steady pressure on it. This will slide out to meet that material, so you don't have that, you know, that weak point that I was telling you about. But with that part of the design, it made this point where I made the mistake one time where this was proud like a 32nd of an inch. But that 32nd of an inch, as soon as I cut my piece across it, it made me skip and jump, and it ruined a piece for me until I realized what was wrong. That's the only thing about this is I don't like the way the fence attached. It attaches with these little things here, and then one of those knobs broke off, and I ended up having to use a socket and wrench to lock it in place. And not to bash on Kobalt too much, because the product got me through my job and I liked it, but I have to say, when I'm trying to do fine-tune adjustments, and when I went to go, you know, you loosen this and then you turn that guy to finally adjust this bit up or down. I was running my shop vac on this thing the whole time, so I was dust evacting, but there would be dust that gets in between the router itself and this clamping mechanism, and it just wouldn't respond very well. I mean, if I go up and down, you can almost see how it changes. Like, let's just say I had it locked in right there. As soon as I went to go lock this, it would change the height again. So I'm fighting, like, getting it aligned with it unlocked, and then trying to, like, fine tune it every time I'm, like, locking the bit down, which it was a little irritating. I just wish that there would have been a little bit more of a secure way to set my heights. That this process didn't make it very easy, but that's all I'm gonna say about it. I mean, it was a good router. It's not variable speed, so it is what it is. So if you have a big bit and you need to slow your RPMs down, don't get this one, because you can't adjust the speed on it. It just is what it is. But it wasn't that expensive either. I don't know, 100 something, maybe low 200s or something like that for the whole setup, router and the table. But I mean, it got me through all my work, so, you know, not bad. I think that's it. I had to buy a bunch of these for all the painting process. And obviously that was the sprayer that I used. I have to talk high on that gallery paint. That stuff is pricey. It's pricey, but I know why it's pricey. It's good paint. I mean, we've had these cabinets now we're going on a month. They've been done, and cleaning them, great. I mean, it has this hardener in there that just, it allows the cabinets to be cleaned. It's just really good paint. It's pricey, but it's definitely worth the money, no doubt. So I'll talk highly about this. The sprayer, it's great. I mean, you can't get a flat surface without it. You can't roll it. So this is the old cabinet. This has been in storage for a little while. You probably can't make it out in the video, but you can see the brush strokes on this paint. And the new cabinets that I bought, they were flat, super flat. And I talked to one of my buddies at church who's a painter, and I asked him, can I reproduce that with a brush and a roller? And he basically was like, no, you can't. You can get pretty close, but you can't. So we went ahead and sucked it up and bought that sprayer, which I'm not mad at, man. That thing was pretty awesome. I mean, and it really laid the paint down super flat. No eggshell whatsoever. Very, very little sanding. And this paint just laid flat, man. And when it dried, it really made a shell over those cabinet doors. So it's pricey paint, but you know, it was definitely worth it. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. That's all I got. Last little bit, almost forgot to mention these. My wife found these on the internet. I think she got these at Amazon as well. These are pretty cool. So they got the double-sided stick magnets, or you could run a screw through theirs and mount them. But I have mine just double-sided stick, and they're not fully charged right now because I haven't charged them in forever. But you can use them for, you know, the power goes out. You need to walk around the house. You got yourself a little spotlight. And when you're done, you just slap it back up there. You know, it lives up there. It's pretty cool. That was a nice add-on, and I didn't have to run any wires. These are pretty cool. And they come with these little USB. And then if you notice, I ran my power right there, which has a USB on it. So I just run the USB from here to here to charge it and then put the USB up. Pretty cool. I like these things.